3. A live podcast sponsored by the Marin Fire History Group. All about the history of the fire service in Marin County, California. And now your host, retired Fire Chief Bill Lellis.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Marin County Fire Chief's historical website. Today we are very fortunate to be at the Southern Marin Fire District, Station 9, here in Alto, with Battalion Chief Matt Barnes, who's going to take us through computer-age dispatching. As you know, in part one, we talked about the inventors and people who have taken us from the trumpet to the bell in the church tower, all the way up to the gentleman who invented the first chip of Texas Instruments. But today we're going to take that chip and go through computer-age dispatch, which was never in service while I was in the business, but is absolutely a marvelous tool for fire service emergency communications. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Battalion Chief Matt Barnes of the Southern Marin Fire Protection District, who's going to take us down that journey. Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon. I guess first and foremost, it's a pleasure and honor to be with the both of you today, and thank everybody that has already kind of paved the way here in Marin with the fire service and all the things that everybody has done prior to me being here. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be with the both of you today.
Well, we thank you for those kind words. It is a bit of a chore once in a while, but it's a love of the chore that counts. Yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
All right. So I guess prefacing it by, I became a battalion chief here in Southern Marin in 2007, and during that time, we still had the rip and run paper version of when a dispatch would come in, we get a piece of paper that would explain the incident location and incident type, and 90% of the time the rip and run sheet didn't work. So I'm scrambling around with a Sharpie trying to write on my hand or a notebook where the incident is, and then trying to remember how to get there and what resources were assigned to the incident when I'm going, and I'm drawing pictures on the window or on my hand while I'm trying to not get in an accident to the incident. So I figured there has to be a little bit better way. So we had these tough books in the vehicles and in the apparatus, but for whatever reason down here our connectivity with Wi-Fi and cellular was not good, and the tough book never really worked. So I started exploring different avenues of how can I build a more efficient process. So one, I don't crash. Two, I can track my resources as I'm en route. And then three, I can get pertinent information and details as I'm en route so I can start to make some command decisions. Well, that tough book soon kind of left the rig, and a lot of agencies in California started moving towards the iPad. So I didn't make any of this stuff up. I wish I was that smart, but I started calling a lot of my colleagues throughout the state on what are their best practices, and a lot of them started migrating towards the platform that we use today, the platform of Tableau Command. So we use an iPad in all our rigs today. We use a program called Tableau Command that gives us all the different calls in the county. If we're dispatched to the call, it'll tell us all the units that are responsible to respond to that call or assigned to the call. And it'll start providing us CAD updates every time a 911 caller or a dispatcher changes or types anything in the screen. So we can get real-time information as we're going to the incident. We also have vehicle location on all our apparatus. So on my iPad, I can pull up the map and I can see all the apparatus that are responding and who's going to be first, second, third, fourth due, where they're coming from, which allows me a little bit better situational awareness. a better command decision making platform to say, okay, hey, truck 4, I want you to go around the block this way, because I see them on the map to get better access to the front of the property if I need them there. And then I'll walk you through the different layers of the map. Is now we have the integration of all the alert fire cameras throughout California, so I can pull up in real time any of the cameras like the Mount Tam Cam and see the column development. For instance, in wildland season, I can see basically what the camera is seeing. And then if we go out of the area via like a strike team or any supervisory role out of county, all the resources that utilize, all the agencies throughout California that utilize Tablet Command, we share our vehicle location. So I can see hundreds of resources on a fire, whether I'm in Marin or last year when I spent over 40 days up at the Dixie Fire in Susanville. I could see resources from San Diego to Eureka and everywhere in between up at the Dixie Fire. So there's some pretty cool technology that now we can leverage in real time that gives us a little bit better situational awareness and command level decision making.
Wow, that's incredible. Absolutely, and it truly is absolutely incredible. I left the business just as the computer was really coming into its own, and where it is now and what you guys have as instant commanders that are at your fingertips is just absolutely incredible information. I would imagine there are times it's almost too much information.
Yeah, it's a give and take, right? So in 2007, I would arrive in Old Town Sausalito, and all my first alarm and some of my second alarm resources would already be at scene working, and I'd be spending 3 to 5 minutes just trying to reconcile where everybody was at and what they were doing. Now I can reconcile that en route, but sometimes the information can be overwhelming, and you just have to remember that you have to actually get to the scene too. So not hyper focusing on the iPad and looking at the information overload. You have to actually get to the scene and see the scene and all the stuff that we have done for decades in the fire service and chief officer level command strategy and tactics. All those, you have to have a great foundation of that. Otherwise, this is going to be useless for you. It's just information in one ear out the other and not able to apply it.
Let me ask a question about education. Let's say you have a new captain. Mm-hmm. Now, does that captain have access to go to school and learn the tablet, or does it has to be on the job? Somebody like you must coach them, or how do they get that information and how to work that system?
So for all our officers to be, so all our actors and all the firefighters that are up and coming to be captains, we put it as part of their initiation training to become qualified to be an acting captain. And then for all our current captains, we do regular in-service training and really dive into the iPad to make sure they're comfortable with their level of expectation on the iPad.
For information, what kind of changes have you experienced in the tablet since it came online? I mean, what's like in the last year? What kind of changes have come to it?
So I think the biggest change is our ability to see the fire cameras now. We just this last 12 months have signed agreements with every agency that utilizes Tablet Command for them to show their vehicle location. We are able to take a major incident map. So you go to, for instance, the Oak Fire in Mariposa. They produce a daily map for all the resources that are at the incident. I can overlay that map into Tablet Command. So now I can see my resources on that map that has all the division breaks, the contour lines of elevational change, the drop points, the landing zones, all that kind of stuff. I can see inside my platform now which I wasn't able to do, say, in 2017.
Wow, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
A question for you, Chief. So what you're saying, if you have resources on the Oak Fire and you're here in Marin County, you know where those resources are in real time?
Correct.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And what's the scary part, in an indirect way, is what the future holds for the tablet,
Yeah.
where it's going to go.
Yeah. And then, like an example at the Glass Fire just a few years ago up in Santa Rosa, I went up and I had a number of resources working for me. And I was able to scout out the area and look on the map and see where my nearest engine was and say, okay, I need you around the corner here. Come north, 1 block, turn left, and I'll meet you.
Yeah.
Versus, 3-5 years ago, I would have said, okay, who's in the area of street X and street Y? And then they'd all have to look at, okay, where am I? Can I pull it up on my phone or my TomTom? Or who caught the street that we're on because they're unfamiliar with the area? I can see where they are and I can place them immediately for an immediate action, like an evacuation type environment or a structure protection type tactic. I can get resources to where they're needed now
Okay.
versus having to figure out, okay, who's where, who's on first, who's on second.
Explain, let's say, for example, you get assigned to Mendocino County.
Mm-hmm.
You go up there, you're in camp, and then you're going to get dispatched, say, to a winery 20 miles away to protect it. Can you now, on the tablet, be told how to get there?
Yes.
On a route? How does that
Yeah.
happen?
So there's a couple things. So connectivity is an issue, right? So we have to have a plan B. So obviously plan A is to be able to leverage Wi-Fi and cellular and then access either a Google Maps or a Waze or an Apple Map and then get normal directions that way. In the event that say there's a bunch of road closures because of the evacuations going on, Google, Waze, Apple takes those road closures and will try to route you away from those road closures. So you have to have a plan B. So plan B would be to download like an offline map, and Google has that ability. So we all download the offline map. Maybe we're going to turn our connectivity off in that moment so I get routing directions in the correct way. So that might be plan B. Plan C might be to look at an Invenza type map, which is basically used for hunting or recreationalists. We use it in the fire environment to have satellite imagery being able to pinpoint our location. So maybe we use that. And then lastly, we also have to remember that we trained on paper maps. So you have to be able to read a paper map. You can't not be able to read a paper map because if all else fails, and that's one of the downsides of technology is sometimes it'll fail, you have to have your foundational expertise back in those paper maps. So I use both. I don't always just use technology. I primarily use technology with a foundation in the paper maps, and then as a chief officer, I still brief from a paper map. So I'll get the biggest map I can find and brief my crews based off of a paper map versus everybody trying to focus in on an iPad.
And talking about this now, let's carry it to the next step, that the San Andreas Let's Go, and we have a major catastrophe in the Bay Area, and we're including Marin County. Now we're going to go into the unified command situation. And we have police, public works, and health, and those people under the tent. What difficulties do you see with communications inside that tent at this time?
Yes, so I think we've addressed a number of the communications, and we're way better now than we were even when I started as a chief officer. So we have the Mira system here in Marin County, and we have the ability to have certain frequencies patched together. So at the command post, I can patch the command channel with a PD channel and a public works channel, and so all the decision makers at the incident that are supplying resources and logistically supporting the incident can talk to their crews, and the decision makers can talk to each other. In the event that we bring in mutual aid from Sonoma or Contra Costa or San Mateo or San Francisco, we all have the same communication that probably the both of you were used to, and that's the high band radio. The old Bendix Kings or the Kenwoods. That's still in operation, and we have a statewide master mutual aid communication plan, so we can utilize the high band channels for tactical and command traffic in both Comm Center, Woodacre, the ECC in Contra Costa or Napa. We can all talk to each other on the radios.
All right. So it should be much smoother now than the old.
Correct.
And I'm assuming that the OES region, it used to be 2.
Yeah, we're still Region 2.
They're up and running with this?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And so, Region 2, we all have a unified communication plan. One of the cool things, going kind of back to the tablet, is every single apparatus that OES owns, so the Type 1s, the Type 3s, now they have the Type 6s, all their vehicle locations are going to be integrated into Tablet Command. So I'm going to see over 500 OES engines here in the next couple weeks on Tablet Command maps.
So when you're looking at the tablet, and let's say you're looking at Mendocino County, the entire county, but you want to zoom in on just a flank or something.
Yep.
You can do that?
Correct.
The tablet allows you to go right in, and then you kind of enlarge
Yes.
stuff like that?
Yep.
Would it show you hydrants?
Yeah, and I can speak specific to Marin. It's all based off of the Tablet Command user, what layers they feel are important. So in Marin, we have all the hydrants. They're all color coded. You can click on the hydrant and it'll tell you the flow rates.
Wow.
We have pre-planned, so you go to this, Safeway, and I want to look at the Safeway pre-plan. We have it embedded in the tablet, so it's a one click, and it'll pull up the overlay of a Safeway or the overlay of an apartment building that has all the floors and the unit numbers and the FDC location, utilities location. So that's all available. We're working on the fire gates. So if I want you to go to a specific fire gate, you can find it on Tablet Command. It'll give you which key or what the code to access the fire gate will be. That's coming. The way we built it is, so for a chief officer, we don't have aides. So I'm driving by myself trying to manipulate 2 to 5 different radio channels and an iPad. It can get a little overwhelming. So everything that we built in Tablet Command is 1 to 2 button pushes, and that's it. It's all there.
Is there a future in audio talking to it?
Yes.
That's not there yet,
That's not there yet.
but it's coming.
There's some things like you can do some things verbally, but most of it is a finger
Wow.
tap on the button
So
or
there's
on the
room for
iPad.
improvement.
Yeah,
Room for
absolutely.
improvement.
Just this last year, we're getting through. Orange County Fire Authority kind of started it. It's going to go into a national scope of immediate reconnaissance via planes for vegetation fire. So they'll launch a plane and get thermal imaging, IR imaging, and they'll give you a description of your fire. And there's 2 bases, one in Southern California and one in Northern California. And they'll download, so we're working on right now, as soon as they map the fire via the air, it'll automatically put the perimeter on my map. So I'll see it in real time.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you talking about manned aircraft or drone?
Manned aircraft, which I think is the goal would be to go to unmanned aircraft in the near future.
And if you had a fire in the Mount Tam watershed, what would your expectation be to get that fire mapped? An hour, 2 hours?
Probably less than an hour.
Honest to goodness.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
And they would be able to provide a live stream to me as well. So I could see what they're seeing from the air.
Now, will that do fire prediction for you as well?
Fire modeling is already there. So we're already getting an update as soon as a fire is detected, and depending on what fire cams detect it, they'll look at some of their algorithm and do a 3-hour modeling in I think 15 or 30-minute increments if it was no suppression forces on the ground. So I'll have a prediction from 0 minutes to 3 hours out how bad the incident could get without being any suppression resources on it. So we used a lot more transition of information on the iPad, so we can send messages. I can send messages on the iPad to different vehicles. I can send messages on the iPad to comm center to reduce the amount of radio traffic. We'll use the radio traffic. You might hear a command officer say, okay, we're gonna limit radio traffic to critical information only, and then that'll prompt us to type messages on the iPad, or we'll use the old-fashioned text messaging on all the phones on all the rigs
Wow.
through like iMessage or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you can do that verbally without typing it in, correct?
Yeah.
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 Wow.
So you can.
Yeah, I can talk to text on
Yeah.
my message and
Oh,
send it.
wow. Oh, wow.
So and then
Is
I
that on the
didn't
iPad, or is that on? You're talking about like we do on our phones.
no on the iPad.
Oh, cool.
So within the incident, I can send a note.
That's cool, huh?
It's incredible. It truly is.
And then all our radio traffic has gone down because we have push button statusing on our iPad. So the dispatch comes in, we go en route. I just have to hit a button that says I'm en route.
That's
I
it.
get at scene. I don't have to give a radio report yet. I just hit at scene.
And dispatch knows where you are all the time.
Yeah.
Tracking you. Wow. So you, one benefit to your career, you've been witness to the 4650 frequency
Right.
to what we are now with the tablet.
Yeah. So on our map, we have a bunch of different options to utilize. So in this bottom here, I can go to. We set it up for XMR, which is we usually use for the fall, winter months. It turns off a bunch of some of the layers that we have in the wildland season. During wildland season, we'll use the wildland map, and then if we know we're going out towards West Marin or an area where we don't have any connectivity, we'll use this XMR offline map. So that's kind of the first option, and then in the wildland map, I can toggle between a number of different fields. So if I want just a street view, that's kind of a pretty simplistic view. If I want like the hybrid view, so I can start to see some of the topography features, building layouts, all that kind of stuff, I'll toggle on that. And then I have a number of different layers I can turn on and off. So obviously we kind of leave the hydrant layers on, the fire cameras on. We can populate all the different weather stations. So if we want to get a spot weather forecast, I can click on the RAWs station, and it'll populate where all the RAWs are, and I can click on that and it'll open up the weather station for me.
Yeah.
And then I'll just kind of toggle out, and you can start to see all these icons on the screen. Those are all apparatus. And I'll give for an example, I'll toggle way out, and you can start to see those. They should start to populate. You'll start to see like Contra Costa resources, Sonoma resources. There they go. All the Sonoma fire resources are on there. All the southern, here's all San Francisco Fire Department, and you start toggling down the state, and you start to realize really quickly that we can see almost all the rigs in California, which is pretty cool.
If you hear of a fire in Los Angeles, can you monitor it, look at it on? No.
If there's fire cameras, so the fire cameras are all these red circles with the white. Those are all the alert fire cams throughout California. So I can toggle in and see the real time fire cam. So I'll kind of give you an example here in Marin. So we'll pull up the Mount Tam. So that has two different cameras. That'll give me real time imagery live stream of the Mount Tam cam. If I want it larger, I just one click, and then I can go back to the incident and be back in my kind of my home base.
Matt, just incredible, absolutely incredible. You guys have done it just blows my mind. It really does, because I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a geek guy.
Right.
I was never either. I just became really stubborn and said, there's got to be a better way than me trying to write what resource on the window of my vehicle as I'm trying to drive. There's got to be a better system than that.
Matt, I can't thank you enough for what you've just done and explained it to this old geezer and that old geezer over there. What you guys have now at your fingertips. It's absolutely incredible. And again, I want to thank you on behalf of the Marin County Fire Services for all your talent and all your energy to put this thing into service and get it up and running. I know you were very instrumental in doing that, and you should be recognized for that. And we thank you, although I don't use it anymore, but the guys that are in the service still have to thank people like yourself for what you have done for emergency communication. So once again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time here in Southern Marin to explain to us and all our viewers what just a glimpse into what computer-aided dispatch is, and just what a wonderful, wonderful instrument it is for the fire officer. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think, I don't want to hesitate, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that it's not just me. There's a team,
Yes.
There's a team of Marin County professionals that are instrumental in this project. And, just kind of a couple closing words is so many fire service leaders in Marin have been instrumental in my life that are now retired. And I can't thank them enough for paving the foundation for me in this great profession as well as this county. So for anybody that's out there looking at this, thank you for what you did for me in my career.
Let me, I'll just ask you a closing question. Maybe it doesn't have to go on the tape, Paul, but if you were starting all over again, your career, what would you change? Would you do it again?
Oh, I would 100% do it again. I'm probably looking at retiring within the next couple years, and if I had the opportunity to sign back up and be a brand new firefighter tomorrow, I would go be a brand new firefighter tomorrow.
Anything, did you change anything?
No, I think I think the evolution of the world and technology and all that is always going to change the way we do business. Mm-hmm. But there's something to be said about what we've been doing. Our profession has been doing for hundreds of years correctly.
Yeah.
And maintaining some of those traditions is big.
Knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. Thank you again so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Good.